Hey, good evening and welcome to our Midweek at 3-in-1, the fellowship. And this week we're starting a new Midweek series. And hoping we'll see you on Sunday on our regular ones. But this week, I don't know about you, did you ever want to ask God a question? Well, for the next several weeks, we're going to ask God some questions, and I'm thinking they're the questions that you might want to ask. Have you ever lived with not only but questions, but doubts? You know, I don't know about you, but a lot of the older folks that I grew up with taught those of us when we were young that having doubts was wrong. Having doubts not only it may be wrong, but is probably sinful. And yet, doubts about faith are perfectly normal, even biblical. You see, we got taught somehow that they were a problem. So Isaiah says that by bringing our doubts into the open, we allow God's grace to fill us with peace and strength. You see, because God is going to reveal himself as we seek him. The more we desire God, the more we will learn about God. But yet somehow Christians taught, you can't doubt, you can't doubt, you can't doubt. Folks, that is part of the free will of God as we come in and questioning God and understanding. It's sometimes simply asking a question allows us to better understand is what gets rid of our doubt. In Isaiah chapter 6, we're going to read, it was in verse 1. It was in the year of King Uzziah died that I saw the Lord. He was sitting on a lofty throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Attending him were mighty the seraphim, having 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their faces, and with the 2 other they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. They were called out to each other. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of heaven's armies. The whole earth is filled with his glory. Their voices shook the temple to its foundation. The entire building was filled with smoke. And then I said, it's all over. I'm doomed, for I am a sinful man. I have filthy lips, and I live among a people with filthy lips. Yet I have seen the King, the Lord of heaven's armies. In verse 6, our last verse, it says this, Then one of the seraphim flew to him with a burning coal that he had taken from the altar with a pair of tongs, touched my lips with it, and said, This coal has touched your lips. Now your guilt is removed. Your sins are forgiven. Do you notice nobody got burned or blistered in that? Do you notice that the doubts, the concern about my sin being too great and too much was answered, not with a whole big sermon, answered simply by being reminded that our God forgives sin. You see, God makes room for our doubts. The book of Psalms has an entire category called laments. Laments, where the psalmist is writing about, my gosh, my world is falling apart. What have I done wrong? Is God mad with me? Is God unhappy with me? Am I just too sinful? Whatever it is, all of these psalms ultimately always close out with a praise of God. You see, our doubts can actually draw us closer. The world wants you to doubt and wants you to believe that because you doubt, God's mad at you. And therefore, you should leave God's presence, his church. We need to face our questions, face our doubts. We need to bring them to God in conversation, which the church word is prayer. And in that, if we are truly looking for answers, our doubts will be made clear to all of us. Hope to see you next week when we add another question or concern to God. See you then. Good night.